feature presentation.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to... This doesn't look straight. One sec. God damn it. Everything's... Okay, I'm doing it now. 3 and a 2 and a...
We should just keep that in.
We might. I don't know. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 117 of the Untitled Movie Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rohrbeck, alongside. He's allergic to tomatoes, but he's tomato meter approved, Eric Marchin.
Matt, you're looking a little bit like you're cosplaying Jacques Cousteau.
Oh yeah, a little bit. I got that going a little bit. I got my little Star Trek looking Cineplex Odeon. This is my uniform from when I worked at Cineplex. 2000. When did Borat come out? 2006. Okay. I opened the Oshawa Cineplex when they still had these uniforms.
So that's 16 years ago, Matt.
Good Lord. Good Lord. I'm old. Eric, how you doing?
Well, Matt, let me tell you, I'm excited to
Oh, you don't have it on, you idiot.
Oh, damn it!
Oh, there we go. I don't have mine, but...
I'm excited to talk about the Critics' Choice Awards. Let's get down to it!
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about all the winners from the Critics' Choice Awards, as well as the Critics' Choice Super Awards. Eric and I, you guys, if you're frequent listeners of the show, probably know that we vote in the Critics' Choice Awards, so it's kind of fun.
Not if you're on YouTube, because there's only about like 20 to 30 per regular show.
Stop. We're an audio podcast, that's why. And people immediately they click on it and they go, 2 hours and 45 minutes? Absolutely not. And then they move on.
It's shorter than Drive My Car and the Batman.
I hate that so much. What's new, man? We haven't done a regular episode for a few weeks because the last couple of weeks we did an after party spoiler cast, a Batman spoiler cast. I mean, we've done reviews that people can check out, tons and tons of stuff, but we haven't done a regular show in a little while.
Yeah, I mean it's always good to stay regular. So I've been eating a lot of bran, and
thank you for that.
What have you? But not a lot. I mean, like, it's just kind of been getting back into a kind of normal routine with going to press screenings at least once or twice a week, maybe. I RSVP'd for Morbius, so
I did too, but I'm at a
blessed.
different one because I couldn't do the morning one. So I'm going.
We got to get our Jared Leto content in there.
I was originally I tweeted this because I couldn't go to the morning press screening, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll go see it in 4DX because why not?
The way it was meant to be seen.
But then I'm going to Mad Max in 35 mil at the Lightbox on Thursday night, the same night as
the original
Morbius.
Or Fury Road.
Fury Road.
Okay.
Nevis's friend and he works at TIFF. Matt Brown wrote a book about Mad Max, and he is introing the movie at TIFF. He also works at TIFF on their web team, and
so did Kyle Buchanan, right?
Yeah,
he has a new book out as well, which is kind of like about the making of Fury Road specifically, and everything that kind of went behind the scenes of that. And then also George Miller is going to be shooting Furiosa, I think, later this year, and also has a new movie coming out with Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton, which is not Mad Max related.
At Cannes, right?
Which is about a genie, or a djinn as it's called. So maybe it's a secret Wishmaster movie.
So that should be fun. So that made Morbius tricky. So I emailed the Sony people, and they're like, oh yeah, we have the 7 p.m. screening on Wednesday. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to that. So
wow,
we'll have that in a few weeks, but we have reviews up right now for
a week, Matt.
Oh my God, it's next week. Yeah. We have reviews. It's not this week, right?
No, it's the following week, but it's coming up April 1st, the day that movie was meant to be released.
We have reviews for The Outfit, After Yang, The Atom Project, Turning Red, which we'll talk a little bit about on this show. Eric and I also got to go to the press conference for
virtual
Red.
Press conference.
Yeah, virtual press conference, but it was fun to hear that team talk about that movie. Fresh, The Batman, No Exit, Uncharted, lots of reviews. So go check out Untitled movie reviews for all of those. Eric, I went for a walk today. It's beautiful in Toronto.
Spring is sprung.
Walked through the junction, got a little sun, got a little fresh air. It was nice. Got this David Lynch pin.
Ooh,
If
where'd
you
you
can
get that
see it.
from?
It's Nevis walked into a store. It's called Bow Pins in the Junction in Toronto. Follow us at bow_pins if anyone wants to follow them. I don't know if people can see
So
that
Matt is
with
showing it on
backwards.
the YouTube video that will have 20 to 45 views.
Well, if you're
And
listening to
it
the
might
audio,
be
you can
skimmed
go
through.
over and see it's a
Yeah.
David Lynch pin. Oh boy.
Or you could just say it's a linchpin.
Yeah. A linchpin. Pin it on your lapel. So that was fun. Did that today. I haven't been I've been watching a little bit of stuff. I watched
It's been
randomly.
trickling in.
I've been slacking other than all this stuff we've been watching for like
review coverage.
So we
Well, I mean, you did
also
see X, but we'll be covering that
yeah.
in one of our reviews. So, I mean, you could talk about maybe, going to the theater and experiencing the theatrical experience of X versus the critic screening that I was at.
What was the
How did that
difference?
go?
Why did
Well,
your
I mean, what were audiences
dude? There
more
was like
in?
4 people in the theater when
Okay,
I went, so I went into an 11:30 a.m. Screening of X at Queensway in Toronto. So there was me, 2 other young gentlemen, and then another guy by himself. So there were 4 of us, and they
right.
were in the middle, and the 2 other dudes at the side. So you didn't get much of a reaction from the audience because they were just pretty far away from me. But yeah,
I was just asking because it is an A24 elevated horror movie,
yeah.
quote unquote, and so sometimes when you get like an audience watching that film that are expecting a Scream film or a Scream movie, they're not going to get that.
No, a little weirder than that.
I mean, it
Which
still
is
has it's probably more closer
yes.
to the
I
Texas
think of
Chainsaw Massacre and
yes,
Scream
exactly.
and Motel Hell and stuff like that, but like it still has like that slow burn that Ty West is known for.
Yeah, I think audiences probably. I don't know how they took it, but like I still think it would play interestingly to a like a Friday night crowd or something like that. But that's I'm like 11:30 a.m. perfect early morning, get in, get out. And we'll have a review for that. It should be up by the time you guys are listening to this as well, so you can check out our review for X as well as the fuck else are we recording today?
That is a good question, Matt. Why am
I
I
just
blanking on
blanked. I
this?
just texted you.
I am literally
What
just
is
blanking on this
what
as
have
well. It's
we
like we're having a
watched?
shared blank
Yeah.
experience.
X, and what the hell else did we watch? I watched it
Oh,
later
Deep
than you.
Water.
Deep Water. That was it. Yep. There you go.
That already tells you
Yeah.
how enthusiastic we are about that movie.
Yeah. So go check out our review of Deep Water as well, which is streaming on Prime Video here in Canada and Hulu in the US.
Yeah, there was too much Sebastian Stan R-rated content on Disney Plus, so
Mhm.
Disney Plus in Canada had to move it over to Prime Video.
The only other thing I randomly watched before we get into the Critics' Choice winners and things like that, I watched Mystery Alaska on Disney
Classic Matt.
Plus. So another thing that I did, I went to the NHL Heritage Classic last weekend, which was last Sunday, exactly a week from today, and it was a blast. Like it was my first big event I've gone to since kind of the pandemic. So it was outside, so I felt a little bit better. It was an outdoor hockey game, and the Leafs were terrible as per usual, although they made a big trade today. Got Mark
Still not going to do
Giordano.
anything.
Shut up. There's always hope,
No, don't stop that.
And so the night before, I was like, all right, Neves fell asleep. I'm like, what can I watch before bed? I was a little stony baloney, and I was like, what should I watch? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get in the outdoor hockey mood. Is Mystery Alaska streaming anywhere? And thank God I went on Just Watch and I typed in Mystery Alaska, and it is on Disney Plus. And
Hell yeah.
God, I love that terrible movie. It's awful. Like it's really bad and but weirdly nostalgic for me, and I thought it was like the perfect thing to watch the night before seeing an outdoor hockey game. And that movie is all over the place, both tonally and just from a storyline perspective. That it's just I had a blast laughing at it and watching it, because it's just there's so much thrown into that movie that is completely unnecessary. I realized in all of our YouTube previews, my hands are always doing this. I'm a very
You're
big
a hand
talker when on the show.
Seinfeld reference.
So again, for the 30 people that watch the podcast,
well, actually, it went down to 25.
Yeah, our reviews get more. Okay, guys. Okay,
I'm a hand talker as well, Matt. So
I saw it on both of us. That movie is awful, but it's just weirdly charming to me. I mean, some of it doesn't hold up comedy wise, but I love the cast with Burt Reynolds and it's Burt Reynolds, right? Yeah, I'm not blanking.
Yeah,
and
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe is fantastic, and
and this was when Russell Crowe was starting to become kind of a name in Hollywood, because just before that he had done The Insider, or was doing that around that time, and LA Confidential, and had Romper Stomper.
Yeah.
So like that was like right around the time like he was becoming this big name in Hollywood, even though he had done other stuff before that. But Will Sasso's in it as well, isn't he? Doesn't he have like a small cameo or a small role? Am I thinking of another movie?
Hank Azaria is in it and has like a big role, and the movie is just all over the place though. Like there's so much in there that is just
Will
like
Sasso right now.
He might be, but I don't remember. I don't think so. Michael McKean is in it for a little bit. Like he's like the guy coming in to build like a Walmart or something, or like, and they hate him and he gets shot by one of the dudes. But I just
Somebody
love
asks you what you're doing on your Sunday night.
I just love the idea of like a
Sasso's
small town in Alaska that is so small. They have this great group of hockey players that no one knows about and no one knows is incredible, and they bring an NHL team to play them. It is awesome. But then on top of that, you have all these weird like A, B, and C plots. Like the A plot is this hockey team coming in, but then like there's a B plot of like Hank Azaria might be like Russell Crowe's wife might be like rekindling her high school love with Hank Azaria's character. There's something about like the mayor's wife is sleeping with one of the hockey players, and there's like all these kind of random B, C, and D plots throughout the movie, and they're all so overly dramatic and soap opera-y, and like just the movie just jumps tonally from like a raunchy comedy to a drama to it's a sports movie, inspirational sports movie, because then you have Russell Crowe, the old guy who's the town sheriff, and they take him off the team because he's slow and they want a new young guy. And then Burt Reynolds is his daughter is sleeping with another one of the players, I think the young guy that's bringing up, but then he doesn't like that, but then he was the former coach that they have to bring in. It's just there's so much going on, and
it sounds very convoluted for a story that's about hockey.
Yeah, have you not seen it?
I have. It's been a very long time though. I remember watching it once and not caring for it because I'm just not a hockey guy. Yeah. But
I think it helps that I am a hockey guy, and I like the idea of like an NHL team coming in and playing some like random team. And I love when they come out in the new jerseys with the M on it. I'm like, I gotta get one of those jerseys, and it's very silly, and it's not a good movie at all, but it's a movie that I just enjoy the shit out of because it's bad fun for me. Anyways, it's
Cole Meany's in it as the mayor.
Yeah.
Murray Chalkin, who was a big Canadian actor.
Ron
Eldard.
Kevin Durand.
This is probably where Russell Crowe met all these guys. So Kevin Durand, Scott Grimes, were both in
he's in 3:10
Robin
Yuma
Hood
and Noah as well, so he's in like a lot of Russell Crowe stuff.
So Russell Crowe's almost like an Adam Sandler type, where like he befriends these guys and asks them.
Oh yeah, like Kevin Durand's in a bunch of Russell Crowe stuff, and I didn't even realize.
Oh, Michael McKean's in this too.
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, he plays really Michael McKean comes in and plays like he's in a few scenes, and then there's like a whole subplot where he gets shot, and there's like a courtroom scene where he's trying to get one of the guys in jail, and I'm just like, why is all of this in this movie? Like, there's
holy shit. Yeah. There's a Critics' Choice member that's in this movie.
No, really?
Yeah, Terry David Mulligan, who I've met a couple of times.
Interesting.
Is a Vancouver film critic.
Because they probably shot it in Vancouver, I think.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. As an extra, or did he? Oh, Mike Myers is in it. That's what's like. Mike Myers plays like again.
He's Dr. Henry Savage.
Sure, but like, there's so much going on in this movie that I just like. I don't know. I had a blast watching it.
We should
But
do a review of
perfect
this. We
film.
should do a retro review of
Oh, if you
this.
want to watch it, I'm absolutely
I'm now
down. But
almost tempted.
I was thinking of starting a like another show, even though we probably do too much already. Like, I would love a retro review show, of just
It's
going
got a
through it.
weird. So
Or
Jay
a
Roach directed
commentary.
it, which
Uh,
explains
Mike Myers
Mike
appearing.
Myers, but
Yeah.
also just thinking of where Jay Roach is in his career. But the guy who also wrote it or shares writing credit is David E. Kelly,
Yeah, I
the guy who
know.
created Boston
I
Legal and Big
know.
Little Lies, and you're just kind of like
It's a bizarre movie, dude, and like that's why like it has all this random, overly dramatic like bullshit surrounding
Carter
it, and
Burwell is the
yeah, the
composer.
score, dude, the score is great.
Jesus,
Right when I saw his name pop up, I was like, damn, this movie, like, they definitely wanted it to be this thing, and I don't think it ever, like, I remember at the time it being, for people who liked hockey, it being like a fun
I'm
thing to
watching
root
this
on
now
for.
because I also looked at the
Um,
cinematographer, and it's all coming full circle now. Peter Deming is the
yeah,
cinematographer, who's David Lynch's
yeah.
usual
There you
guy.
go. He shot Mystery Alaska.
And Twin
Um,
Peaks: The Return.
it's yeah, watch it. It's just, I don't
I
know.
got it
I
now.
think me being, kind of stoned, lying in bed watching it, I was like laughing at it a lot, but um I had quite the good time watching it. So that's like the only thing. And I watched all the Marvel one shots last night because Kind of Funny's doing an in review of them, because a lot of them hadn't seen them. And I hope they bring that back, that format. I think that would be like a fun, and they're kind of doing that with that Werewolf by Night thing that Michael Giacchino is directing, but that seems to be more like a 40-minute to an hour like Halloween special that I'm sure they might do every year, where the one shots being between 3 minutes and 15 minutes. I think it could just be a fun way to, up and coming filmmakers, or maybe, I don't know, whoever, other people at Marvel, just give them certain smaller stories to do. Like, I think they're like, it's not perfect, but the Item 47 short I think is really interesting, that takes place like right after the first Avengers movie, and has Lizzie Kaplan and Jesse Bradford as like two regular people who find one of the Chitauri like
Swim fan
guns.
himself?
Yeah. Yeah. There's another movie we can do a retro review for.
Oh god, that movie
And
probably does not hold up.
no, I highly doubt it. I would like smaller little stories like that take place in the world, but maybe
Well, there
about
is the
like,
one that does actually narratively connect to Shang-Chi, right? With Ben
yeah,
Kingsley's Mandarin being in jail,
All
right?
Hail
So
the
like if you've
King. Yeah.
yeah, so if you've seen that and then you watch Shang-Chi, you can kind of fill in the blanks of how
It was fun to watch that one, going back now, seeing Shang-Chi, right? And
yeah,
seeing Trevor Slattery pop up in that movie. And you got Scoot McNairy in that, and Sam
Sam Rockwell
Rockwell. Yeah, great.
with glasses. He has glasses in
Um,
that one scene, right?
yep.
Where he's like reading the paper.
Yeah, or he's reading a magazine with him on the cover. No, Tony Stark maybe on the, or Pepper Potts on the cover. Um, yeah, it's they're fun, like they're not great, but like you got those early ones with what's his face who gets killed, who's in oh my god, why am I blanking on him, on his
Clark
name?
Gregg.
Clark Gregg. Yeah. And then
It's Agent Phil Coulson,
Phil
everybody's
Coulson.
favorite
Yeah.
hero.
And then you got a whole bunch of them from Taika Waititi with that kind of uh, Team Thor and Team Daryl kind of thing, which are pretty
Those were the
funny.
best
Yeah,
because
those
they
were
were like
really
the
funny.
Office kind
Yes,
of
yeah.
style.
With
I
Thor
don't
just
mind those.
living.
They reminded me. I think what they should do if they do kind of bring them back is what Pixar always did with like their shorts,
Yeah,
where they would have like a short with the Blu-ray or DVD when it was released, in the same world or connecting to the next movie that
yeah,
they were making.
yeah, totally. And I think that could be fun, even if you played them before, like um, a movie. And I think like whether it could be better. I guess that's what the post credit scenes have sort of become, and stuff like that. Like they're almost much shorter than these, but um, I'd still like to see these make a comeback, especially with Disney Plus. Like, you could easily just have these every once in a while, and keep that. Do weirder, smaller stuff, random stuff. Like, I'd like something that takes place during the blip, maybe, of like just regular people and how they dealt with that, and just more world building, that like smaller stories that we would never get in a Disney Plus show or in a movie. So I had a good time watching them, and they're really short, and they're all on Disney Plus now, which is why it's a lot easier to watch them. You used to have to like either own a Blu-ray or
Who does that anymore?
or put a disc in. God.
Ugh,
And
gross.
then if you go look at the video version, see where Eric's sitting.
Just in a big
Or
pile
you
of
had to
shit.
like YouTube them, and then they were always like
They're all in one
like,
place
yeah,
now, so
it's
they're
so
all
much
easily
easier
accessible.
in HD, surround sound and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I've been watching. And what about you? Anything other than stuff for review? Or
Yeah, mostly. I just want to quickly go back. I mean,
yeah,
since
please,
you
yeah.
touched on it with Werewolves at Night and Michael Giacchino directing this, known as a composer
Yeah,
first and
good for him,
foremost.
man. Yeah,
Um, I think it's really
trying to take
interesting.
everyone's jobs now.
Yeah, I know. Michael Giacchino will
He's
act,
gonna come in. He's
star.
like, Matt, you're
Like,
no longer needed on Family Feud Canada. We've hired Michael Giacchino to write questions.
it'd be amazing if there was one movie that stars, directed, produced, edited, composed,
Yeah.
everything by Michael Giacchino. But what I find interesting about that, because the way it's described, and it almost feels like it's like Marvel's version of the EC comics, like the Tales from the Crypt
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And obviously, like, they're probably setting this up to include maybe that the werewolf character who's being played by Gail Garcia Bernal, maybe within like the Blade universe or the Dark universe with Moon Knight down the line. So I'm just kind of curious. It's like, are they doing these kind of like mini one-off, almost like episodes, to kind of see like, oh, do we continue this character in a series for themselves, or do we bring them into the fold in someone else's storyline? And I'm just curious about that.
Yeah,
Overall.
I think it's probably what you just mentioned, of like maybe a character that we don't need a whole series for, just kind of like what I said about the one shot, which I guess this is just a beefed up version of that, where I think Werewolf by Night, or I forget the actual character's name.
That's his name, Werewolf by Night.
Yeah. It will just pop up in other things, I'm assuming, and it's ways to introduce characters, especially like it seems like they're just trying to get this giant roster of people for whatever, maybe Secret Wars, or maybe there's going to be a not even a Dark Avengers, but a Midnight Suns, which is another team. Like someone had a good idea. There's a great episode. Tim Geddes and Eric Voss from New Rockstars did a MCU in preview show. And if you guys watch if you're a big MCU person, you probably watched Eric's breakdown videos of the movies and trailers like that over on New Rockstars. And then everyone knows that I'm a huge Kind of Funny fan, and I've been on their shows and stuff. So they did a preview episode, and they talked about like maybe that they're going to be building, instead of like, the one Avengers team, like the next phase of Marvel might just be a bunch of different smaller teams. Like you have the Guardians, and then you have maybe the Young Avengers, and then you have the Fantastic Four coming up, and maybe X-Men get brought in, and then you have Midnight Suns, and then you have the
Which
Dark,
would include
like,
Blade and
yeah.
Black Knight, right?
Yes,
Like,
yeah, and Moon Knight and stuff like that. So Midnight Suns and Ghost Rider, if they introduce Ghost Rider, and then you might have the Dark Avengers or the Thunderbolts, and unfortunately, William Hurt just recently passed away. So I'm not sure how they'll take the kind of Thunderbolt Ross kind of approach for the Thunderbolts, and maybe they'll make it Dark Avengers. But yeah, it seems like maybe there's going to be a bunch of different teams, and then maybe that will lead into like a Secret Wars or something like that. But I could see Werewolf by Night being part of that Midnight Suns kind of, team or group in the MCU. So I hope they do more of them. We know we're getting the Guardians Christmas special, which is like another just one-off kind of thing, which is awesome. Like James Gunn writing and directing that as well. So I hope like they do more of these weird
so I guess you
holiday
really want to
specials.
taste that one.
Yeah. I really hope that they do more of these one-offs, right? Like if we get one every Halloween for a different kind of, darker MCU character or something like that. And I'm sure they'll brand it some sort of Terrifying Tales or whatever MCU or Marvel comic name they've had for something like that. But
Well, even bringing in, now that they have the rights back to the Netflix series, you could probably even see them maybe doing something with that, where instead of doing a whole new season of Daredevil or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, you could do like a, a special, like an hour or 45-minute, edition, a one-off for one of them.
yeah, and Werewolf by Night is the character's name, so we're good. But
Nice.
his actual name is Jack Russell. So
Please, my dad everybody calls my
me.
dad Mr. Werewolf with Night. It's
Yeah.
just Wolf.
That's really funny. Yeah, I'm pumped. I mean, good for Michael Giacchino, man. Like that's dude's been on everything the last few years. I mean, since Lost, he's just I felt like done more and more and more and more and more and more. So I'm pumped with that, and I want them to keep doing weird one-off things like that. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of would have liked to have seen like a feature length, like Marvel werewolf movie, just like a genre film in general. But I mean, yeah,
if
I'm
it's
sure
an
it'll be
hour,
fun.
then
Yeah.
that'll be fun. I think.
Yeah. I mean, it can't be any worse than Hubie Halloween, right?
Haven't watched it yet. I've been
I haven't
saving it,
either.
you know.
Just for a special occasion.
Yeah. What else you been watching?
Maybe during Christmas. So the kind of, I guess, the main thing I watched a couple weeks ago, because it just turned 100, was Nosferatu.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't have a lot to say other than, like, obviously the imagery is still very effective and has inspired countless generations of filmmakers when it comes to creating gothic imagery in the sort of subgenre of the vampire. Max Schreck as the titular Nosferatu is still really unnerving, and it made me want to go back and rewatch Shadow of the Vampire, the kind of behind the scenes making of movie with Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich, which is available on streaming but's never had a Blu-ray release of any kind, which is kind of interesting considering Willem Dafoe got an Oscar nomination for a supporting actor as well. Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't really have much to say other than I think it's a classic. I think it's also a very creepy movie. I also really love the Werner Herzog remake from the 70s with Klaus Kinski, which is much more deliberately paced and kind of really gets into the production design of everything. But yeah, and it also just has me curious, like, if Robert Eggers is going to start production on his version of it this year, because he's been working. I remember interviewing him for The Witch at TIFF,
and he brought that up, right?
Yeah, and he literally said to me, like, look, I know it's already been remade by Werner, and, like, you know, there are countless other Dracula movies, so, like, what's the point of it? But he said that, like, he had a very specific take that he wanted to kind of go with, and so thinking about that, it'll be interesting to see if, like, after The Northman, he goes right into production on it, because I've heard that he's already kind of, like, booked sort of, like, locations in Eastern Europe to shoot the movie this summer, I think in Prague specifically. So again, you know, with the world the way it is, we'll see how it goes, but he already has also Anya Taylor-Joy cast, and rumors is Willem Dafoe will play a role, whether he plays Nosferatu or Dracula again, or plays Renfield or something like that, will be really interesting. But yeah, the Kino Blu-ray release is available. It's one of those creepy silent films that just, it has a way of still getting under your skin, even though obviously it's 100 years old and it maybe isn't necessarily scary in the sense of, like, you know, what you're expecting from movies nowadays.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
You can see the DNA of that film in so many movies even still.
Absolutely. I haven't seen it since film school, so it's been 10 or 15 years, but 100 years, wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Wild. Anything else?
No, not really. I've been watching I've been catching up with How To with John Wilson. So I watched the retail, or the How to Become a landowner, a realtor, kind of in New York, which was like his first episode to season 2, and kind of got back, like, into the routine during
When's
COVID.
that premiering?
So it's already available.
Season 3?
The whole season. No, season 2.
No, I know. I
So
watched season 2. Yeah.
okay, because I hadn't watched season 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So and then the second episode, the How to Enjoy Wine
Yeah.
episode was amazing because I mean, like both episodes are great, but that wine episode literally goes to some wild places and like thinking about like how like Nexus is involved and also this weird sort of energy drink magnate that kind of reminded me of Frank D'Angelo, who's a Toronto entrepreneur and terrible filmmaker whose movies have been covered on the Flophouse and things like that. This whole sequence in Florida that's almost like John Wilson stumbles upon a cult that's going on, but it's actually a baby shower, but it still kind of feels or looks like a cult situation. I love the show, and it's one of those things where like I think after kind of almost basically binge watching all of season 1, I've decided to take my time.
I'm
with
like,
season
wait,
2
did I watch season 2?
Because season 2 was released in December of this year.
Huh. I definitely went back because I remember how to cook the perfect risotto, which is
the last episode of season 1
when COVID was just starting, right?
Yeah.
And then I could have sworn I powered through season 2 as well. But
then the beginning of season 2 is when he basically buys his landlord's apartment building because she's moving to Las Vegas. And so she offers him this small kind of like this home but in order to get it, he needs to kind of like go through the bank. And
I don't know if I have watched season 2, actually. I don't think I did. I must have stopped after risotto and then like, cause I maybe watched it in like November and then season 2 was coming out. And then did they announce a season 3?
Yes. Yeah. They just announced season 3. And it's also funny, like when he's kind of looking at his taxes and going to the bank to get a mortgage loan, it's like, okay, how do you, legitimize what you're doing on HBO?
Sure.
Like, how do you show that like you're going to have like a steady income with them? And so what he does is he literally prints off like Twitter reviews of the show, of season 1, and then he puts them in a folder, and it's called Good Reviews, and then he puts the bad reviews in a folder and puts it under his couch. And then he brings it to one of the accountants that's working on it, and she goes through. It's like, yeah, this is gonna do anything.
God, the best. And then I was just talking about that show with some friends we saw because they loved Nathan For You, and I was like, oh, you guys should
Nathan
watch.
Fielder's an executive producer on the show.
Yeah,
and it is very much that sense of humor where it's like that very awkward interaction, but at the same time John Wilson is also very good at basically disarming the person he's talking to and getting them to open up in ways that are unexpected. And especially when like, you think of like this guy has a camera and this kind of like crappy microphone with him all the time, and he's basically documenting everything that he does and who he is as a person. And so, you're going to have your back against the wall a little bit when you're talking to this guy, but the way he gets people to open up to him in a very kind of natural fashion, and how you get to see more to the person than you would expect is very funny. Like again, in season 1, there's this amazing sequence that leads to a conversation about the movie Parasite. That
I know that one goes from 0 to 100 very quickly. That was
the way
the one
again that John
moment
Wilson handles it is amazing.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. I was telling them about that. I kind of spoiled what it was to them, but I had to pitch them on the show of being like, there's this one sequence that it just goes to places that you definitely wouldn't expect. I also love the referee union episode too.
The way really that again, like, because that episode is all about like, how do you like pay for like a check, like or a restaurant bill, like how do you like tips?
So he
like,
wants to get a referee to
his opinion because they're the most like neutral,
and then finds that they all argue with each other, and they all want this like
TV at this raffle thing.
It's so funny. It's just, but it captures like real life in a way that feels almost. It's like what Nathan Fielder did. It's like, yeah, part of it is like him crafting a narrative, right? But then even more so, like Nathan Fielder feels like he sets up moments and he kind of knows on his end how he wants to go about the bit or whatever, but then he finds people who will play along with it or leads them, where John Wilson feels like he just literally it's like the Humans of New York kind of thing. Like he walks around with a camera and he finds the story as he's walking around with a camera and just like finds these miraculous people, and just like it's so funny.
There's
It's
a
so
thesis there in every episode, obviously, when it's called like how to enjoy wine and
But then
things
it
like
just he
that. It's like,
follows something else, and then it's just ultimately he's good at making it come together at the end.
yeah,
But
come full circle, but it reminds me weirdly of like a Simpsons episode, where a Simpsons episode will usually start, at least the ones that like the best ones will always start with like introducing one story, and you think, okay, well, this is going to be the main thing, and then it kind of it's not even a B plot. It just becomes something else
Mhm.
about like 10-15 minutes into the story. It
Mhm.
goes from one thing to another.
that
And that's
one
kind
thing
of
led
what
into this other thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then that kind of becomes the main focus of it. So like with the wine, sort of like the whole thesis at the beginning is like, oh, he doesn't know what wine to bring at a party, and every time he buys a bottle of wine and he goes to a friend's place, his bottle of wine is never opened or never used. And so like he's talking to a sommelier for like what seems like 30 minutes, and he doesn't get anywhere with this guy. And then it goes from, asking about wine to energy drinks from this Florida magnate who literally is Instagramming videos of himself, weightlifting, and he
Yeah.
has like multiple wives and children, and
Yeah, he
like
finds
him
these
getting
people and then he
and him
like
getting into this building
yeah.
is amazing. Like
Yeah.
it literally he just walks in, and
Yeah.
it's incredible.
That's
It's
awesome.
and almost feels like it could also end up like an Ari Aster movie where like Midsommar, like I was actually genuinely like concerned for John Wilson's safety in some moments where
That's really, really funny. Good stuff. Everyone go check out How To with John Wilson. Now, I guess I need to watch the second season because I thought I
yeah.
watched it, but now that you're explaining this, I'm like, I definitely have not. I watched that first season and then realized season 2 wasn't out yet.
But the Nexus stuff as well. So Nexus is like this weird like cult, which one of the members is one of the former cast members of Smallville, and you learn that
Yeah.
John Wilson, um, in the early 2000s when he was in going to college, he joined an a cappella group because he didn't have like any sense of direction, and he always kind of just went with what everybody else was doing. So he joined an a cappella group, and he was invited to this event where one of the sponsors of the group was the leader of Nexus. And so you find out like this guy wanted to know what their social security information was and stuff like that. And they almost got him kicked out of school because they argued with this guy about something that was actually like totally fair to critique. And then like now you learn that the guy who was running Nexus, which was a cult, is in prison for like 150 years.
Sick. That's funny. That's awesome. You want to do some Critics' Choice stuff or what?
Let's get down to it, Matt. The Critics' Choice Awards 2022.
So the Critics' Choice Awards were this past last Sunday. We wanted to do this earlier, it's just timelines got kind of messed up, but I wanted to go over with Eric all of the winners. We can kind of talk about, whether
I gotta look for the release form now.
I have it up,
Okay, you
so
got
I
it.
can
Okay,
bring it
good.
up. Don't worry. And we can talk about if we maybe voted for that or if we didn't, and how we felt about everything as a whole. And then we'll also talk about the Super Awards too. Did you want to go through that first or leave that till after? Or
We should do that after,
Yeah.
because it was the same thing. Like I was wondering when the Super Awards were going to happen, because the main show happened before the Super Awards, and usually the Super Awards go before the main show. But I think just everything with the delays this
Yeah.
year kind of just made it so it was weird that like afterwards it was like, oh, a couple days later
This is like
it's
Critics
oh, the
Choice Super Awards. I
Super
know they probably
Awards.
should have spread that out a little bit, but very different, obviously, movies being showcased.
Well, there is some overlap
for
with
sure.
some of the kind of more, I guess, prestigious
Sure.
quote unquote genre movies.
And before we do this, I will say you might go, Matt, Eric, the Oscars are this weekend. We know you guys will get a special extra episode of the Untitled Movie Podcast this week, which will be our Oscars preview / prediction episode. It'll be hopefully a little bit tighter, maybe quicker, just a kind of mini episode, even though I say that and it'll go.
We won't discuss 8 of the nominations.
Yeah. Yeah, God. We'll talk about that and other things. So later this week, you'll get the 118th draft as well, which will be our Oscars prediction show. So stay tuned for that. Probably up on
Nightmare Alley, Best Picture, baby.
On Friday. Oshawa, you represent. On Friday, you'll get that episode right before the Oscars to check out before the show. Okay, Critics' Choice. Let's start with, you know what? First, we won't go through the TV winners because we don't vote on that.
No.
But I will give a special shout out to our number one movie of the year winning Best Comedy Special on the TV part of the awards. So, some people,
that would be Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even say that. Sorry, my bad. I should probably
You just
say
assume that the 20 to 25 people that are watching.
Okay, there's more that listen. Okay.
No, there's not. Let's be real.
Alex
Reno's at least 7 of them.
Yeah, he just listens on 8 different devices. Bo Burnham's Inside did win Best Comedy Special, so that's awesome. But let's go into the movies. Let's start with Best Score was Hans Zimmer for Dune.
Hans Booby.
I'm not sure if I voted for Hans Zimmer. I might.
What were the nominees?
Oh no, I voted for Johnny Greenwood, I think.
Okay.
For Power of the Dog. Do you remember who you voted for?
Was Johnny Greenwood for? I think it was Johnny Greenwood for Power of the Dog. We both had wood on that one.
Best song went to No Time to Die from No Time to Die. Totally cool. I think I voted for that. Can't remember.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah, because We Don't Talk About Bruno wasn't nominated there either.
Yeah,
right?
But being performed at the Oscars, that makes
sense.
So
we're getting rid of the 8 categories
for a song that didn't get nominated. We'll talk about that on the other.
This is so dumb.
We're going to talk about it on the Oscar show.
We should also mention that the Critics' Choice awards this year not only were on TBS as well, but there was there were 2 locations. There was one in LA, which takes place every year, and there was also one in London, England, because the BAFTA awards were the same day.
So some people stayed up until an ungodly hour in London.
I guess if you're on a high already, if you're winning awards and stuff like that, maybe you just can't sleep. So maybe that works out for you in general.
Yeah, a lot of the winners were in London, actually. Yeah. So
well, that is my one criticism with award shows in general, where it becomes so homogenized that everybody wins the same awards, and it just becomes so predictable after a while. I'm not saying vote for something just to be different, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to also vote for the thing that is
the front runner
sweeping either, right? Just to be.
But I mean, maybe it is winning that for a reason, right? Because that means the majority of people believe that. So I get what you're saying, but.
Because sometimes it does feel like, we want to keep in line with the statistics. For,
I agree with
year.
you. I vote with my heart.
I'm bitter with Malignant not winning.
For this, we'll get to the Super Awards. Okay. Best foreign language film, Drive My Car. I abstained because I didn't see all of them. So
I voted for Drive My Car.
Cool. Best animated feature, The Mitchells versus the Machines. I voted for Mitchells versus the Machines. I think one of the best movies of the year last year.
Yeah, it's one of the best animated movies since Delgo.
Best comedy.
Sorry.
It's random. Best comedy movie, Licorice Pizza. I voted for Barb and Star.
I think I voted for Barb and Star. What were the other nominees in that category?
I don't have them all up here. I only have the winners.
For fuck's sakes. Because I didn't necessarily... I love Licorice Pizza, but in terms of a true comedy, I wouldn't necessarily consider that.
And that's why I voted Barb and Star, because I felt like some of the other things were had representation in other categories and stuff like that. So Don't Look Up, Free Guy, and French Dispatch were the other.
I voted for Barb and Star. Because again, Licorice Pizza, love the movie, and it does have some great comedic moments. But when I was voting for it, my thought was that it's okay, well, it's going to probably win somewhere else, or at least it's being
Yeah, I
represented
thought it would win
in more
screenplay or something, and
places.
it might have. We'll get there. I did watch the whole ceremony as well, and I thought it was a well put together show. Like, it was pretty smooth, and everything was seemed. I can't wait to go in person. Honestly, I
Yeah.
was supposed to go this year, but when it was originally taking place in January, Nevis and I were going to go, but with COVID stuff, we canceled it. Obviously, the award show got punted, and then we just decided maybe next year we'll go. All of us
And
will
I think
go. It'll
it'll
be
be a
fun.
little bit more organized in maybe the year ahead, just because this year there were so many delays, and understandably with the COVID
Totally, yeah.
variants and things like that. But maybe now that they've learned from the situation, and also with even the Golden Globes,
Yeah.
right? Like even that was kind of a sort of a moment
Twitter
of
thread.
contention. Yeah.
Best visual effects went to Dune. I think I might have voted for Dune, or I voted for No Time to Die, or did I vote for Shang-Chi? I can't remember.
I think I voted for No Time to
I think
Die.
I voted
See,
for
I can never
Shang-Chi.
remember.
Yeah, I know. Well, if we remember, we'll bring it up. Best hair and makeup
Yeah.
went to The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I voted House of Gucci just because
Oh, Matt.
I thought, Jared Leto's. I just thought it was hilarious, the hair and makeup in that movie.
I can tell you I voted for neither one of those, but I can't tell you what I voted for.
Nightmare Alley, Dune, Cruella.
I think it was Cruella.
Yeah. We went through best song, best score. Production design went to Dune. I think I voted for West Side Story.
I think I voted for West Side Story as well.
Best costume design went to Cruella. I voted for Cruella.
I also voted for Cruella.
Best editing went to West Side Story, and I voted for West Side Story.
I did as well, because I felt that, like, even though that was a very long movie, it was very well paced for the length it was.
And love those match cuts too.
Yeah, and love that shot of Ansel Elgort.
Oh god. On the video, we're doing this horrible face that he does. Best cinematography, Ari Wegner for The Power of the Dog. That's what I voted for.
Same.
Best adapted screenplay went to Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. I believe I voted for Coda. No, I voted for Lost Daughter here for Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I either voted for Power of the Dog or Lost Daughter. I cannot remember which one.
That's okay. Best original screenplay went to Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. I think I voted Licorice Pizza here.
I voted Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, because King Richard, Don't Look Up, and Being the Ricardos, I don't think I would have voted for. So,
God, Aaron Sorkin.
As much as I have some issues with some of the stuff in Licorice Pizza, I still think out of those nominees, I was definitely
if something like Pig was in that category, that would have been a nice again, like, Critics' Choice. It's not necessarily has to be about like voting for the films that are going to be nominated. You know? Where's Bergman Island?
Best acting ensemble, Belfast took it. I believe I might have voted for Belfast. The other nominees were Don't Look Up, The Harder They Fall, Licorice Pizza, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story.
I voted for The Harder They Fall.
That's an inspired choice. Jude Hill won Best Young Actor or Actress for Buddy in Belfast. I voted for...
I'm not your buddy, guy.
I think I either voted for Emilia Jones in Coda or Rachel Zegler in West Side Story.
I voted for Emilia Jones in
Yeah,
Coda.
I think I did as well. Best Supporting Actress was Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. That's who I voted for.
Who was nominated again?
Katrina Balfe, Ann Dowd, Kirsten Dunst, Ingenue Ellis, and Rita Moreno.
Kirsten Dunst.
Best Supporting Actor, Troy Kotsur for Coda, who I voted for.
Cody Smith-McPhee was my vote.
Best Actress was Jessica Chastain in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I voted for Alana Haim in Licorice Pizza.
Interesting, because I really love that movie and that performance, but I voted for somebody that I thought, like, oh, if somebody would have a chance of maybe doing well out, like
Olivia Colman.
See, this is where I was thinking the award stuff, where I'm being a hypocrite now, where it's like, okay, you don't have to vote for the same thing, but I was like, So I voted for
I
Coleman
think
there.
Olivia Colman's amazing. I just
But I loved Alana Haim too.
She was my favorite
Pizza.
part of Licorice Pizza. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
best actor went to Will Smith in King Richard as the titular King Richard. I voted for Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Best director went to Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, and that was the kind of infamous moment where she grossly and weirdly made comments about Serena and Venus Williams and having to compete against men, and it was just very awkward and just like it was just unnecessary.
No.
And
It was in the moment though as well, and I think partly, like, I'm not trying to defend what Jane Campion said, but
and she's apologized since. But
yeah, and like you watch it and it's like it's not the end of the world kind of like.
I think it's just
like
her intentions were one
she
thing.
misspoke,
and
I think partly it was like because Serena and Venus Williams have competed against men in tennis, and it is a male-dominated sport. The way that directing, I mean,
and everything that they've gone through too.
The difference is, when filmmaking first started, filmmaking was not looked at as a lucrative venture, so women were almost as sort of dominant in the directing field as men in the silent era into the beginning of talkies. But it was when films became more financially viable that men kind of really took over. So if you're looking at it from that point of view, but again, they both are competing against a patriarchal system.
Yeah, and I get what her intentions were in that. It was just weirdly phrased and just did not come out super great. So
and it also even kind of then makes you look back and be like, okay, well, like, the Sam Elliott interview on Mark Maron, he the weirdest thing about that whole, like, oh, it was a movie I didn't care for, I think almost is weirder, not because of the Western thing, but because Sam Elliott isn't from the South. He's from Sacramento.
Well, that's why she said that. She's like, you're an actor, not a cowboy. Like,
right. And I mean, he's an actor who's played a cowboy one too many times. But the thing is about that interview, when you actually listen to the whole context of it, it's really not that. Yeah, it's a guy who has his opinion.
Yeah.
And then, like, he even shits on Yellowstone, which he's a part of the prequel series. Like, he says that Yellowstone is just basically Dallas, the 80s soap opera series.
I think a lot of times people see these things out of context. The short clip, they have no idea.
Or the tweet, right? Like, they take that and say, like, oh, well, that's what is being said. And that
there's a little bit more to that, but I will also say that it was just like, you didn't need to bring them up. Like, it's just focus on your movie and the people who made your movie. Like, it was just a weird thing. Like, a lot of people were focusing on them being there. And I'm like, I get it, guys, but just like focus on, I don't know. I get what her intentions were. And I think it just came out really wrong, but.
Right. Well, it's even the same thing with interviewing Sam Elliott. Like, it almost kind of plays into the thing. It's like, I'm sick and tired of hearing interviewers ask directors about what they think of Marvel movies. I'm sick and tired of interviewers asking people to get like the provocative answer from somebody who maybe is a little bit more conservative in general, because you kind of know what the answer is going to be.
And I get people wanting, again, these topics, because I hate just the sound bites of, like, the shit that you hear over and over again from the junket circuit and all that stuff. So some of this stuff is, I think, kind of interesting to talk to people about, because it is what's popular in film and entertainment. So I get the appeal of bringing these topics up and these things up with other people in interviews, because I think that's why Mark Maron's a very good interviewer, or other people. I'm not saying some of these people who ask these Marvel questions are good interviewers, but I think there are interesting conversations to be had. It's just when you're just trying to get a soundbite from someone to either shit talk, like even the Scorsese Marvel stuff, right? Like, a lot of this stuff is so out of context, and people just see, oh, Scorsese shits on Marvel movies, where if you like go and read the entire interview or listen to the entire quote, it's really not that bad. And it's almost like someone going, it's not for me. Their theme park rides, they're enjoyable, but like I'd rather do this, or in any case, it's just like I don't know. It was a weird moment though, I will say, and I just
Yeah.
felt like even watching it live, I was like, just no.
Well, everybody's also really drunk at that point,
I
and
think
like
she was.
again,
Yeah.
I don't know why you would bring it up other than like these incredible athletes and executive producers
Yeah.
are in the room and probably sharing a
Sure.
table or a seat near you. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I think at the point as we're talking about it, people have kind of moved on already, and that's like a
Totally.
news cycle in general. Like even the Sam Elliott stuff, it's kind of like the person who had the best reaction to that when asked, I think, was Jesse Plemons. And Jesse Plemons just literally said, Sam's entitled to his opinion. And that's
in most cases, right? Yeah. So, and then Best Picture
be like
also,
Jesse Plemons.
which most people usually are. And
Yeah.
Twitter can be an interesting spot to be on during a lot of this stuff. A lot of opinions there.
And it's also just like that's the thing where it's like sometimes you really do need to like take a break for like 24 hours away from it, because it literally is this news cycle of like, okay, this is the person we hate because this person said this, whether it
there's one,
something that is dumb or something that is out of context.
A lot of it's hyperbolic extremes. It's like, it's just like everyone either very mad on one side or defending it so much on the other side. So, I think rightfully so sometimes in certain cases. But,
yeah, well, even with William Hurt passing away, like I think William Hurt's a great actor, but his relationship
with Marlee Matlin,
but also another producer, and I apologize that I'm forgetting her name. There has been documented, and now they still use the words like allegedly and things like that because they have to, because the family could sue.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been proven, but when you read these articles, you have to take that into consideration, and you can't just, I mean, a lot of people did mention it, or at least said something along the lines of like, oh, he led a very complicated life. And again, like I think William Hurt was a great actor, especially in movies like Broadcast News and Smoke and things like that. But you can't not ignore some of that either, because it's there, and this affected this person. And like even when you read like Marlee Matlin's reaction to it, I think she was being very considerate of William Hurt's family, where like she could have been a lot more critical and also kind of just
totally
more vulnerable and open and had that conversation, but she almost weirdly took a high road. And again, it's a very complicated
she just said
situation.
It's all in my book or whatever, right? And I remember
exactly
that,
yeah.
So yeah, anyway, and then Best Picture also went to The Power of the Dog, and I voted
Hot diggity dog.
I mean, the hot discourse right now, I voted for the movie on the other side of the hot discourse, which won the PGA and the DGA, which was not DGA.
No, because Jane Campion won
SAG,
the DGA.
sorry.
But
SAG and PGA went to Coda, and that's what I voted for.
Yeah. So now where we're at is interesting, because
you voted for Power of the Dog, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I voted for Licorice Pizza.
Oh, okay, sorry. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, I tried to spread it out a little bit, like just in terms of like I didn't want to pick like just like I voted for Jane for directing. I voted for Licorice Pizza for Best Picture, even though I knew that wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
But what's interesting now, looking at the discourse, it does seem to be between three movies, and those three films are in the ranking order: Belfast at number 3, and then the two that are kind of like, okay, who's going to be the first streamer to win a Best Picture award? Is it going to be
want
Coda
Apple
with
to
Apple
do it.
TV Plus, just to piss off Netflix even more?
We've been trying
with Power of the Dog.
Yeah,
and then
and
Apple
Netflix
just
has
like
put
casually
so much behind Power of the Dog. Too.
Yeah, where Apple kind of has, but only when it started kind of connecting with critics and awards groups. Like Coda was something that even when the movie was being released back in the summer of
it felt like it didn't get
2021,
much promotion, right?
Even with the tragedy of Macbeth, like there wasn't a whole lot there for it to be like, oh, we're really pushing for Denzel and the cinematography. And even though they got nominated, it was almost like, okay, well, you're just like Coda is that kind of interesting underdog story there, but the backlash now with any film that kind of is in contention, I think Coda is a better movie than say Green Book, but the backlash is because it is a popular movie and it may not be as austere compared to Power of the Dog.
It's a feel good movie, right? And
yeah, well, like people saying that, like, oh, it's just like a Disney Channel film of the weekend.
I'm like, okay, that is another hyperbolic bullshit kind of statement. Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
But what I do find interesting, and this isn't to do with hyperbolics. This is more to do with just statistics. So the trajectory of what this movie is following in is the same path as Little Miss Sunshine did back in 2006, where Little Miss Sunshine won the SAG Award, won the PGA, was also a Sundance hit, was bought for millions of dollars. The
just like
Little Miss
Coda,
Sunshine was bought by Searchlight at that time. But then it lost Best Picture at the Oscars to The Departed. The difference with The Power of the Dog versus Coda and versus like Little Miss Sunshine versus The Departed is that both The Departed and Little Miss Sunshine were kind of crowd pleasers, where like, because the Departed is a very commercial, accessible Martin Scorsese gangster movie that's very fun.
Where Power of the Dog not super accessible,
with the exception of critics.
That's
critics
what I mean.
Have seen it more than once, but so like I feel like that's kind of where the one kind of it doesn't align there completely. Where like the closest thing to Coda, I would say, would probably be Don't Look Up or even Dune, like in terms of like having that accessible quote unquote art movie that has some commentary of some sort in there, where The Power of the Dog has its passion. And I think like Jane Campion will win director. And,
I agree.
And like, I would love to see Ari Wagner be the first woman to ever win for cinematography.
I hope that also happens. And I could see that happening, but I could also see something like,
but I don't necessarily see like I still could see like Coda right now being that number one feel good choice. That even if you don't love Coda, you still like it. Like I don't necessarily
save it for the Oscars prediction.
We'll talk about it more. But like I like Coda a lot. Yeah. I don't necessarily think it's an awards film, but I think it's a good movie, and I think it's a very watchable, likable.
Out of the nominees, it's the thing I enjoyed the most, and I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff sometimes.
Right.
Like,
but it does it well.
I think a lot of people are, and that's why I do believe it's winning. And that, like, if you look at a lot of this stuff, a lot of it is either, to me personally, I was having this discussion with Kevin and Rihanna. That's who we saw, who was on an episode of the show before. You guys can check that out.
You should get them back on soon.
Yeah, having great movie conversations with them. They love the Batman, so had a great conversation about the Batman with them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll save it for the Oscars prediction, and we should have a good conversation there, because like I could see it going the way that you're saying, and I won't specifically say that so we don't continue that conversation here. But it totally makes sense that Power of the Dog won this.
And BAFTA even, because BAFTA, like, again, like, not to stereotype, but it does feel like the BAFTA members are more quote unquote kind of refined and a little bit more open to kind of difficult films.
And I think the Academy will go more feel good than...
Yeah, and you even look in supporting actors. Supporting actors actually an amazing microcosm of what this whole season has been. So Cody Smith-McPhee has been winning and been nominated for so many critics awards and was doing so well.
Baby.
And then when it came to the groups where there are actual Academy members like SAG, Troy Kotzer for Coda has been winning everything. I mean, Kotzer even actually won the BAFTA. So like, I think he's got that wrapped up in the bag for supporting actor. And so like, I feel like that's kind of showing you that like Coda,
and Cody Smith-McPhee will get nominated again. He's very young still. And like, I feel like that maybe comes into play. So yeah, let's have an interesting conversation about Oscar predictions in the next episode.
That was just a tease, a little
teaser. But now,
we're going to talk about Grimace.
Oh God, I was so pumped.
We need to talk about Grimace because when you tweeted this conspiracy theory that...
Did you go on that Wikipedia page? Because it's awesome.
I did, because after you tweeted about it. Okay, so tell us about this Grimace conspiracy.
Okay, this is news. Critics' Choice is done. I was happy to vote for my first year. Excited for next year. Okay, Grimace. I think it was the same night I watched Mystery Alaska. I
So you were
Oh,
stoned.
yeah. Oh, I absolutely was, Eric. Or it might have been another night. But I didn't know Grimace was back. Did you know Grimace was back? I thought he was
I
gone.
didn't know
And
he
like,
ever left.
he was gone. I knew it. I knew he was gone because he was everywhere in like the 90s. And then like
Yeah.
all of the
Is the Hamburglar
McDonald's.
still there?
Not really. They haven't used him in anything. But that whole McDonald's like Ville kind of, your Mayor McCheese, your Hamburglers, your Grimaces.
Who's the duck? The
Yeah,
bird?
I forget, but I remember her too. But anyways, I'm just watching TV and a commercial comes on and it's a Toronto Raptors McDonald's commercial, which they've done. They've partnered with them for a while. Sorry if there's background noise. Nevis is cooking. So Grimace is playing one-on-one with the Raptor from the Toronto Raptors. And I'm like, holy shit, Grimace is back and he's playing basketball against the Raptor. And I was like, recorded the commercial. Then I found the tweet. Then I tweeted, holy shit, Grimace is back. Then I went on Grimace's McDonald's wiki page on the McDonald's not Wikipedia, the McDonald's wiki page. And there's this hilarious, like, breakdown of just the wording in it was great, where it's like Grimace, he disappeared and like
Witness protection.
Yeah, he returned. So I highly suggest everyone go over to Grimace's wiki page on the McDonald's wiki and read about Grimace. And I found out
where
that
do you think he went?
I don't know. He did something horrible probably, and Grimace got canceled and then had to go into hiding.
Mayor McCheese hit him somewhere.
But I've always loved Grimace because I'm just like, what the hell is this big purple tongue? Like, I just don't understand what this is.
I always thought he was like a nugget that had gone bad, but
that's what
really
I thought too. Because remember, people
would never go bad because there's so many preservatives in them.
But remember, people said there was like pink goo that became the nuggets, which I.
But he's purple.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I thought, oh, maybe it's the pink goo. So here, I'm on Grimace's wiki page so I can read it for everyone.
Does it say what is Grimace?
Yeah. He was voiced by Frank Welker. So
nice.
Frank Welker voiced everyone. So originally, here's the origins of Grimace, everyone. Originally, Grimace was the evil Grimace with 2 pairs of arms with which to steal milkshakes. After that first campaign, the character was revised to be one of the good guys. So he started off as a villain. Then, a face turn. They removed 2 of his arms, and then he only has.
So it was an arm turn.
Yeah. So he has only 2 arms now. The commercials and merchandise generally portray him as a well-meaning simpleton whose clumsy antics provide a comic foil to Ronald McDonald. Their words, not mine, everyone. I'm quoting from the Wikipedia page. The character was retained after the streamlining of the characters in the 1980s and was one of the few members to also be retained until the end of the McDonald's commercials. Okay, here's where it gets good. Following an appearance at Dodger Stadium on July 18th, 2012 versus the Philadelphia Phillies, dancing to Ram Jam's 1977 classic Black Betty, Grimace seemingly disappeared. The wording, incredible. So
that's a headline.
After
right there.
I love the specifics of that, where it's like he danced to Black Betty at a Philadelphia Phillies game and then disappeared. So I don't know what he did during that dance to Black Betty, but or maybe someone had something on him. So for a number of years, Grimace vanished from public life, only appearing in Malaysian Happy Meal toys. His first public appearance after his 2012 disappearance was at the 2020, which is only like 2 years ago. This is in COVID, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade alongside Ronald McDonald. So he came back in 2020. So after 8 years of being
a Malaysian toy for kids.
Yeah. He appeared once again with Ronald and the Hamburglar during the 2021 Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. So he only gets let out of whatever dungeon Ronald McDonald is holding him in for the Macy's Thanksgiving
Thanksgivings.
Day. Yeah, maybe he's something to do with Thanksgiving. So in early 2022, the McDonald's TikTok and Twitter accounts began using Grimace in promoted video posts featuring an animated Grimace ordering food at a McDonald's, beginning his order by saying, "Can I get and then that's it. So and now he's back playing the Toronto Raptor in a commercial. So Grimace,
back
he's
in
back.
a big way.
I got to write a time code that says 1 hour 4 minutes Grimace's origin.
I think that's going to be the title of our episode. Holy shit, Grimace is back.
Yeah, the Critics' Choice will love it too. That's funny. Okay,
I mean, that's the real winner of the Critics' Choice Awards this year is Grimace.
An honorary Critics' Choice winner, Grimace, for all your.
Or he could be the host next
Oh
year.
my god, that'd be great. Just get McDonald's to sponsor it. Okay, let's do the Super Awards now. After that little intermission break. So the Critics' Choice Super Awards, not televised. It was just sent out in like a tweet thread and a press release. Correct, Eric? Is that it?
Yeah, I saw some of it on Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like, that's where I first saw it. So.
Eric and I both voted in this as well. So it's a separate awards that focuses on superhero films, action films, sci-fi films, horror, fantasy, kind of these genre movies, different things like that. I don't know what the exact criteria is for what qualifies. I guess it's just one of those genres, but Eric and I both voted in that, so we can go through kind of the winners for the film side of things. So best villain in a movie was Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man No Way Home. I love Dafoe in that movie, but I voted for oh my god, why am I blanking?
Gabriel.
No, he wasn't even nominated.
He wasn't?
No.
Damn it.
Because it's the actors, so I don't think
I thought the actors were nominated for Gabriel.
Oh my god, now I gotta pull up the nominees again. Critics' Choice Super Awards. There we go. I need do they have the 2022 one? Ceremonies 2022. Here, I got it now. Sorry, my bad, everybody. My bad. So I voted for Tony Leung in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Oh, you did? Yeah, they were nominated. I didn't even see that. Damn it. I didn't even see that. Oh, I gotta look
up.
That maybe I'm the one vote that cost Gabriel this.
Asshole.
Because the other
Grimace is now gonna come for you.
Grimace and Gabriel, the new team.
That's a team up movie.
Damn, I didn't even realize that. That's my bad because I voted for Tony Leung. So also,
Tony Leung is great, but he's no Gabriel.
Yeah. Idris Elba and Ben Affleck were also nominated, and Tony Todd for Candyman. For Best Actress in a Superhero Movie, Florence Pugh won as Yelena Belova in Black Widow. That is who I voted for. Because you also had Gal Gadot for Zack Snyder's Justice League, Scarlett Johansson for Black Widow, Margot Robbie for The Suicide Squad, Michelle Yeoh for Shang-Chi, and Zendaya for No Way Home.
I think I voted for Florence Pugh as well.
Best Actor in a Superhero Movie. You had Andrew Garfield win for Spider-Man No Way Home as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, or Peter 3. Also nominated were John Cena, Idris Elba, Tom Holland, Tony Leung, and Simu Liu. I believe I voted for Tony Leung again.
Interesting. I voted for Garfield because I think it was his best performance.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree.
It's also a spoiler.
I mean, it's not anymore because everything's out there for all the. I have it on digital now. It's available on digital, and the 4K should be coming out soon.
Mid-April.
Yeah. Best superhero movie went to Spider-Man No Way Home. The other nominees, which I voted for,
Same.
Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, The Suicide Squad, and Zack Snyder's Justice League were the other nominees. Oh, a well-deserved winner. Best Actress in a Science Fiction Fantasy Film. The winner was Rebecca Ferguson for Dune. So half of a movie. Kate Blanchett for Don't Look Up, Jodie Comer for Free Guy, McKenna Grace for Ghostbusters Afterlife, Jennifer Lawrence for Don't Look Up, and Alicia Vikander for The Green Knight.
I voted for Vikander.
I voted for McKenna Grace for Ghostbusters because I thought she was the best part of that movie. Best actor in a science fiction fantasy film, Dev Patel wins for The Green Knight. Also nominated was Mahershala Ali, Timothy Chalamet, Leonardo
For half a
DiCaprio, yeah, Tom Hanks, and Ryan Reynolds. I also voted for Dev Patel. Best science.
I mean, how can you not?
Yeah, he's easily the best performance in all of those.
The man is just so majestic looking with that sweet beard.
Yeah. Best science fiction fantasy film went to the first half of Dune. Don't Look Up, Free Guy, The Green Knight, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and Swan Song were also nominated. I voted for The Mitchells versus the Machines.
I voted for Green Knight.
You bastard. You cost Mitchells versus the Machines.
Hey, you cost Gabriel, which is even more.
I'm really mad. I voted... No, I had to because I voted for Gabriel in something. So it must have been that. Wait, let's keep going. Best actress.
I think there is another category.
Best actress in a horror movie. Is it Agatha or Agata? Agata Roussel. Yeah,
T10.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For T10, I voted for her.
Same.
Barbara Crampton
for Jacob's
wife. Rebecca Hall. For The Night House, Thomasin McKenzie for Last Night in Soho, Millicent Simmons for A Quiet Place, and Anya Taylor-Joy for Last Night in Soho. Best actor in a horror movie went to Yahya Abdul-Mateen II for Candyman. The other nominees were Nick Cage for Willy's Wonderland, Dave Davis for The Vigil, Vincent Linden for T10, Cillian Murphy for A Quiet Place Part 2, and Sam Richardson for Werewolves Within. I like a lot of these people nominated. I voted for Vincent Linden for T10.
Same. I also voted for the Linden.
Best
Linden's
horror
chocolates.
movie went to A Quiet Place Part 2. So this is where I voted for Malignant. I voted for best horror movie. So the other
move over A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yeah.
It's all Malignant.
Yeah. The other nominees were Candyman, Last Night in Soho, Malignant, The Night House, and T10. So I thought, because I forgot, I just voted for Malignant here, and then I probably just zoned out and didn't see it there, and I'm really mad.
You're like, your job is done.
I don't think it would have won anyway if I changed my vote.
No.
But
I mean, I think T10 is the better movie in that category, but I mean, in terms of what that category is, I think Malignant kind of fits better than... I mean, T10 is still a genre movie.
I like Malignant more than T10, but...
Oh, interesting.
I think both are good.
I like both. Yeah. I mean, they do different things.
They're very different movies. It's hard to even compare them.
I mean, they both have body horror elements.
Yeah, totally.
That's one thing that you can compare them with.
Best actress in an action film. Jodie Comer for The Last Duel wins. Ana de Armas for No Time to Die. Karen Gillan for Gunpowder Milkshake. Regina King for The Harder They Fall. Lashana Lynch for No Time to Die. And Maggie Q for The Protege. I don't love the movie, but I believe I did vote for Jodie Comer because I think she was the best part of The Last Duel. I did really love Ana de Armas, and I really did love Lashana Lynch, but I just felt like there wasn't enough of them in those movies.
Right.
So I voted for Jodie Comer.
I voted for Ana de Armas, but the reason why I didn't vote for Jodie Comer, who I do really like in that movie, is because I didn't feel it was really an action film.
I agree with that.
That's why I didn't vote for her, because I think like I would have voted for her if it was like best drama or
I think because it's a fantasy, or I'm not a fantasy, but like
it's not a fantasy.
Sorry, you know what I mean. I meant like because
I mean it has genre elements because it like.
I'm surprised yeah, I guess that's why it's considered in this, because like I don't even think The Last Duel should probably be in the Super Awards.
No,
if I'm being honest, like
yeah, it's a little weird.
It's I just don't think it should be. It's not an action.
Like even
movie,
Ben Affleck is best villain. It's like
that's icky.
Yeah,
like that to me, that is icky. Like just that.
I mean, he is a villain, yes, but I don't think he's a villain in that kind of like comic book horror movie.
Last Duel should have not. If we were in because the way the Critics' Choice Super Awards work, everyone is there is a group of like a nominating committee that do the nominations. So a group of people that get together and come up with the nominations from the Critics' Choice Association. They get together and they put together, and I think the nominees are fantastic in most categories. They did a great job. I just don't think The Last Duel, I would have spoken up and been like, I don't think that should be in the Super Awards. I think, again, I don't love that movie, but like, even if, objectively, I just don't think that it should be, I don't think it's an action movie. It has an action sequence in it. And I know it's like a swords and shields kind of thing, but that's what I meant by fantasy, wrong wording. But,
Right. But it does, like, in terms of like some of the historical elements, you could see that, like, I could almost see like the thinking of the committee being like, okay, well, we put something like the Green Knight in, fantasy, which is also kind of like medieval-esque in
sure.
its style,
But
but that is an actual
yes,
fantasy based on
exactly.
a fictitious story,
Exactly.
where
There's
this
the
is based on
difference.
truth, and this is more of a chamber piece drama
Yeah.
with real stakes, and
Yes.
also a subject that is not
Should be in the
necessarily
same category as a James Bond movie.
exactly.
Best actor in an action movie. Speaking of James Bond, Daniel Craig wins for No Time to Die. The other nominees were Dwayne Johnson in Jungle Cruise, Jonathan Majors in The Harder They Fall, Mads Mikkelsen in Riders of Justice, Liam Neeson in The Ice Road, and Bob Odenkirk in Nobody. I believe I voted for Daniel Craig.
I voted for Daniel Craig, but I remember almost voting for Bob Odenkirk
Yeah.
there as well, because I was like, that performance in that
It
movie
was
is a
great.
lot of fun. But there's another one where it's like, I don't know if I would put
That in an action movie category.
no, not no. What were the nominees again? Just read them off.
Liam Neeson in The Ice Road, Mads Mikkelsen in Riders of Justice.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Is yeah.
Riders of Justice isn't really an action movie. It's more like this contemplative, internalized look at grief and the struggles of kind of being able to move on, and like, where do you put the blame, and are you looking for blame? Like, yeah, there are moments of suspense and a couple of kind of like shootouts, but they're not done for like, it's not an action
if
movie.
it has an action sequence, like people, and
It's automatically
I can get the
eligible.
nominating committee to be like, you know what, Riders of Justice, a great movie. Mads Mikkelsen's great in it. He didn't get a
Yeah.
Critics' Choice nomination for that role, so we can kind of say, hey, we nominated him for this, even if it doesn't totally make sense.
Because even like the Blu-ray cover art for that film, it makes it look almost like it is like a 90s biker action movie, and it's not that at all.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And then finally, the big one, best action movie. You had the nominees: Wrath of Man, Nobody, The Last Duel, The Harder They Fall, Gunpowder Milkshake, and then the winner, No Time to Die. I voted for No Time to Die.
Same. And again, Last Duel, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe should be
not
there.
an action movie. Sorry.
Nope.
There's
not at all.
It's because, again, what do people remember in movies? The last fucking 15 minutes. That's what.
And they're
people
also
remember.
thinking Ridley Scott
Yeah.
films in that, like, they're thinking, oh, basically The Last Duel is him doing Gladiator,
and it's called The
again,
Last
right?
Duel, but the movie's not really about the duel per se. Like,
no, it's about sexual assault
yeah.
at a time where women didn't have the rights
and
that they needed.
So to call it an action movie is just weird. Like, I get it has a big action set piece that's at the very end of the movie, so that's what people kind of remember from it, but I don't know if that's the thing they should be taking away from that movie. But I like that, we do this at the Critics' Choice. Like, I really do like that. There's another kind of award ceremony, and there's a documentary awards show as well. And I like that we have these kind of separate things to highlight, even if it's just maybe, sending out the nominees on social and different things like that. It is kind of awesome that we have this other award show that highlights some of these films. So that's cool.
Pretty cool.
Eric, we can cover some trailers or news before we wrap up. I know we covered.
we talked about the most important thing, which was Grimace's return.
Yeah. I'll pull up what we missed. We have missed a couple trailers. So we got the new Miss Marvel trailer.
Yep.
Which I really enjoyed.
I was kind of fascinated by how soon that is coming out, because I thought that wasn't going to be out until like next year,
Oh, really?
um, or even like at the end of this year.
Why did you think that?
Well, I just thought because it would be closer to when or the Marvels comes out. Like I thought it would be
Mhm.
kind of like almost like timed where it'd be closer to that, because the Marvels doesn't come out until 2023, right?
Yeah.
So
I
it just
think it
almost
might
felt
be
like
early next year though, right?
right.
February, but
But then again, I guess like with WandaVision, like connecting to the next Doctor Strange movie, I mean that was a year apart. Although I think that was partly because of delays, but yeah, I thought that that was going to be closer to the end of the year, because the other thing that's kind of interesting with that trailer, not getting into the trailer specifically, is that like a lot of people are starting to like ask quite a bit about like online about the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, because it's we're getting closer now,
and the
and
one
usually
piece of thing people keep talking about is now this is the shortest time between trailer and release date for any Marvel thing so far. So like
yeah.
No Way Home was the one that was closest. And why do you think that is? Do you think it's just they have so much that they had to get the Miss Marvel one out first because it's coming out first, and then like
I think there might be a
um
delay even. I think that they might even push it back to the end of the year. Like
I
I feel
don't
like
think
if we don't
so.
get if we don't get anything soon, like I almost felt like the Miss Marvel trailer was to counteract some of the questioning when it came to that trailer being, or people asking about that trailer. So it's like, okay, well we don't have the trailer for this ready, but we do have this, so we'll give you this right now and you can watch this, and this will be the next thing to kind of follow Moon Knight after that is released at the end of March,
I bet you
which
we
we'll
get a
also have a
Thor
review
trailer
for the.
during the Oscars on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean it is an ABC telecast, so that would probably be a really good spot for them to
It'll
debut
premiere
it.
as a commercial during the Oscars, and then it'll drop online at the same time.
It'd be
Calling it
amazing it
right here.
Or it'd be even better if that was not the trailer, but it was for Next Goal Wins.
Yeah. Is that movie ever coming out?
Well, they
Oh,
they did reshoots with Will Arnett replacing Army Hammer,
mhm.
so
And does that go
I don't know
straight to
how long
Hulu
that'll.
now? Or do you
Right.
go off the Taika name and you try to put that in theaters, right? But I don't know.
I think Taika will probably want to fight for that to be in
Yeah.
theaters.
I'll call it here, and I think that you're getting Thor Love and Thunder on the Oscars on Sunday, and then we'll get it'll premiere.
That'll be during the show. They'll have it during the show. That's what actually
I mean,
cut out
that's what
at least
I made
two of the
I made
awards.
a joke about it, and but I wouldn't be surprised if that eventually starts happening, because if you look at what I'm going to save it. Let's save it for the Oscar preview show.
Okay.
But I did like the Miss Marvel trailer. I loved the high school vibe. It reminded me of, Spider-Man Homecoming and stuff like that too. And but
Well,
I
even with
love,
Turning Red recently
yes,
as
with
well,
the
like even the weekend
animations and
score, like it
yeah.
takes place in Jersey, right? But
Yeah.
it is a Canadian lead with a Canadian
Oh, it was
singer
definitely
song.
CanCon for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And I thought that was it was just it was awesome. I really liked the vibe of it. I loved her. Curious of who the villains are, how that story will play out, but I think that'll be a wonderful thing to look forward to on Disney Plus. We're close to Moon Knight as well, which is awesome. We also got
Which
the
we'll probably have a review for
very
coming
soon,
up
very
soon.
soon, very soon. And then we also got the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, which I don't think we've talked about because
No.
we've been off for the last couple of weeks, which I haven't stopped watching. And I just like I couldn't fathom.
Where is he?
I couldn't fathom that I'd be pumped for a prequel era Star Wars kind of thing again, with prequel characters. But Ewan McGregor was one of the best parts of, I think, that prequel trilogy. And that Obi-Wan trailer rips, dude. Like another Toronto focused thing with Deborah Chow, or Deborah Chow, directing all those episodes. Super pumped for that. I mean, and I just said, like, Duel of the Fates just fucking rips.
Does a lot of
And
heavy
like,
lifting.
and it does. Like, I'm still
I
excited.
like the
at
trailer
yeah.
too, but I do feel like you can score Duel
You
of
could
the
put
Fates
that
to
over
anything and it makes
literally a
it
pile
better.
of garbage, and it'll just
Morbius. You could put that over Morbius
yes.
and it would make
I
it
might
more
do that
interesting.
after this. I'll just put the Morbius trailer and just play Duel of the Fates and go, look, this movie looks awesome now. And it's just like, you could put that over literally anything and it's going to make it sound and look awesome. But like,
Yeah.
I can't explain to you the first time when I watched that trailer right here. on my computer when Duel of the Fates comes on. I'm just like, oh, and like I just got full body chills, and I was like, this is awesome. And I don't know. I'm curious of what that story will be. Like, we know kind of what Obi-Wan has been doing on Tatooine, like protecting Luke, but we don't know like the details. And there's been some stories about him protecting Luke, and I almost think that might be a red herring of. And I tweeted this, and I know a lot of people won't love it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they involve Grogu and connect some of that modern Star Wars TV with prequel era, classic now Star Wars, however you feel about those movies. But like, my theory there is that the Luke stuff will be a red herring, and you think he's like this whole show is about him protecting Luke, but we see him go off world. We see them asking about where is he and stuff like that. And I'm like, are they talking about Luke? Are they? And my theory is that they're talking about Grogu, and part of this show is going to be him
Well, because Vader
going.
doesn't know that Luke is even alive.
That's what I
right?
mean. So like, I have this weird feeling that this show is going to tie into Mandalorian and is going to tie into all the other TV stuff that they've been doing. They brought in a director from Mandalorian. It's not showrun by Filoni and Favreau. I mean, Favreau's the showrunner on those other shows, but Filoni's heavily involved. But like, obviously Filoni having that history doing Clone Wars, and you have Anakin and Obi-Wan in that show, and that show really developed those characters probably way better than the prequel movies ever did. And I think having, Hayden Christensen come back for this show, and you'll probably get flashbacks with him as Anakin in that Clone Wars era kind of timeline, and then you'll have him as Darth Vader as well. And I just have this weird feeling like that, Obi-Wan's thing will be protecting other young Jedi that are still like
the
that
ones
are
that
around.
remain.
Yeah, and that's after, because the Inquisitors, which are awesome, Jedi hunters, really prominent in the Jedi Fallen Order video game, and that I played on PlayStation a couple years ago. And
Rupert Friend's playing one of them,
yeah,
right?
he's
Like,
playing the
like
Grand Inquisitor, like the lead
Yeah.
Inquisitor. And then we also
I like
saw
that
Sung
guy.
Kang as one of the Inquisitors, which is
Who
awesome.
weirdly looks like a mushroom.
Yes,
to me.
because his head kind of like
Like there was this show I used to watch. It was like a mini series kids show that was like this knockoff thing called like Jack Kirby and the Future of Tomorrow. And one of them is when he visits this mushroom planet, and there are all these characters that look like giant mushroom people.
Yeah,
and he just looked like that.
Yeah, for sure. But the cast is awesome, and we haven't even seen
Watto.
Benny Safdie, and is it Benny or is it
Yeah,
it's Benny Safdie, and we haven't seen O'Shea Jackson Jr. yet.
or Kumail.
Yeah. So like the cast still haven't seen a lot of people, and I have this weird feeling that it might. I don't know how people will feel about it, but seeing more of Luke with Grogu in Book of Boba Fett, which is like a weird sentence I don't think I would have ever thought I'd say out loud like a year ago even. I have this weird feeling that it might not be the central, focus of the series, because then people,
it might be a B or C.
Yeah, like I think
right?
maybe one of the things he does, which will be an episode or something like that, might be a huge surprise to people when it ends up he is the one who ultimately saves Grogu and hides him, right? Because Grogu would be pretty young at this time, because Grogu is 50 some years old, right? And then
Right.
So I feel like, and Grogu would still look like Grogu because he ages so slowly. So like I really have this feeling that Grogu will be involved, and Obi-Wan will be part of saving him and hiding him, and that will be a part of the show. Don't know how people will feel about that. I don't even know if that's a good idea, but that's just kind of where my head goes of me theorizing about this show, and then using Luke as kind of a red herring. And don't get me wrong, will it still be a lot about him having to, stray people off course so they don't find Luke? Sure. And will it be other young Jedi? I think so.
Will we get to see how the moisture farm works?
I hope so. Joel Edgerton back,
Joel Edgerton like working behind the scenes. It's like, this is how blue milk is made.
I hope we get little Luke drinking some fucking blue milk again, so we see. Nah.
I do really like though how these series have been pulling from the prequels, but
Same,
taking the
yeah.
stuff that
People
did work,
liked.
or at least were an interesting idea
So
that
bring
maybe didn't
Watto
work
back, you
complete.
cowards. Jar
Which
Jar, bring him
if
back.
they're going to bring Watto into
Or
the
Jar Jar, they're
fold,
going to be in this series.
yeah, or at least a mention of them.
I could see Jar Jar
So
showing up too for at least like a one episode or something.
Dark Jar Jar, Dark Jar, but or Darth Jar, I guess. But yeah, like I do like that Dave Filoni has kind of taken the best of the prequels and is now making them work really well. And I have to say, even with the Book of Boba Fett, I think I've liked all of the series stuff that we've gotten so far with The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, more than Rise of Skywalker. I think Star Wars now actually works a lot better
On TV,
as
yeah.
as a series and
I
not just
agree.
like one series. Like I think The Mandalorian
It
still
was
is
so
a lot better than
episode
Boba Fett as a character.
It was so episode focused anyway, right? Like look at
Yeah.
the names of them, right? So I feel like
Yeah.
that serialized storytelling does actually really work for Star Wars, and I'm absolutely with you. Do I still hope we get big movies? But yes,
Do
but
you
like
still have a new hope for a new movie?
all right, what other trailers? We got Puss in Boots.
But I wanted to also mention another character that I kind of
Yeah.
want, like, because I really loved Cad Bang.
Cad
Bang.
I want to bang Cad Bang.
I kind of do. Is an amazing character. So I do hope that there's some
He
more
could
of
show
those.
up, yeah.
Well, not just him, but like other
bounty
characters that
hunters,
kind of are very iconic looking and just are like they feel like they've been ripped from the animated version or concept designs. Like I
Yeah.
would love to see who's the character
Yaddle.
that well, Yaddle. That's something we could talk about. This could be where Yaddle
And
is
Yoda
brought back in.
Yeah,
Get it
Yaddle and
on.
Yoda
Get their Cad Bang on. But I would like is it the Seventh Sister who's also like
yeah.
one of the Inquisitors?
Yeah.
Because she's in.
They're called brothers
She's
and
voiced
sisters,
by.
yeah.
Yeah, because she was voiced by Sarah Michelle Gellar in the animated series, and then she's also killed off.
Because Freddie
by
Prinze
Darth
Jr.
Maul.
is a Jedi too.
Yeah.
Kanan.
And Darth Maul's another character where like
could
I
show
think
up, but
or at least be mentioned.
I don't think he should, because there's a whole thing that Obi-Wan and Darth Maul already had a showdown on Tatooine in
But they could save that for
Rebels.
season 2.
But
where,
in
like,
Rebels,
the end,
they already had that, right? So people don't.
was that
really
continuity going to be a part of it?
It should be, because all the
Right.
Clone Wars is, and I think a lot of people don't like. Huge fans of that show hate when people go, "Well, that was an animated." They're like, "It's valid. It's part of the story. Just because it's animated."
Hear me out. The end of Obi-Wan, we have a scene where Obi-Wan,
Alden Ehrenreich could show up.
Opens up his own dojo, and then in walks in half of Darth Maul, like Kreese from
I would love
Cobra
that.
Kai.
I want the.
And he has Darth Maul has a cigar.
So here's also my pitch. I want those guys to do a Star Wars series at some point. I would love that. I know Cobra Kai in the Miyagi verse is their kind of Star Wars. They've talked about that, but like I still think that they did Star Wars better than Star Wars did, with the whole mentor and bringing people back and
well, again, taking all the things that were basically fodder for sequels that were just repetition and turning it into something more. Like the way what they've done with Terry Silver on that show
incredible.
It's amazing. And they could, I mean, that's what they could do with Darth Maul on this.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we saw Darth Maul, briefly in Solo, but like I feel like you could really take a villain like that or a character like that kind of was cool but also somewhat disappointing based on like how much they were used or underutilized, and then recontextualize them in an interesting way. And maybe that'll be Darth Vader, because we haven't seen Darth Vader at all in the trailer.
Yeah,
so.
and this is like Darth Vader in his prime, right? And this is the
Prime
Empire.
Vader.
And this is the Empire in like full force too. So we haven't, at least in live action, explored
The
a lot
Emperor
of that,
has
so.
returned.
God, sucks. That's the worst. Although I think that's why they're going to involve Grogu more, because that's, I think, where they're ultimately leading. Like, I think Grogu will be
that flashback, right, of
Yeah.
Grogu seeing like him, the Jedis being killed
Yes,
off, right?
and then also just like I think wanting his blood to clone and things like that. And there's a history of cloning in Star Wars, and that's how the Emperor comes back. Like I really do feel
Grogu
like
has returned.
Like I really think that Grogu will be involved in that. So we'll see, man. I'm pumped for Obi-Wan though. That's coming, relatively soon.
I mean, May,
Yeah.
It's gonna be May.
End of May. Other things we got, like I mentioned, the Puss in Boots, the Shrek universe has returned. The Shrek, he's returned.
Not Max Shrek from
Yeah.
Nosferatu, or not Max Shrek from Tim Burton's Batman
Yeah, I
Returns,
thought the exact thing when you said
because
that.
that's who Tim Burton named the character
I
after.
right when you said that, I was like, never put that together, but now I have. I thought the Puss
God,
in
that Christopher Walken in that movie.
is so good. I thought the Puss in Boots trailer was good. Not I don't think I ever needed to revisit Puss in Boots or even the Shrek movies, but I think they had their place in time, but it's
Yeah.
interesting. I thought the animation was really nice, and I actually genuinely thought it was cute. So I don't know.
Yeah, and Banderas is
Yeah.
actually really good as Puss in
That
Boots.
was the titular Puss in Boots. Not much else to say on that.
I don't either. I mean, other than like the voice cast is pretty good.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
It's a solid.
Florence Pugh's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. What isn't she in? She's going to be apparently in Dune 2.
Yeah.
Or Dune Part 2, which I laughed when I saw like some of the
reveal.
headlines saying the reveal for the title is going to be Dune Part 2. It's like, yeah, well, what else was it going to be?
Because it was called anything else that's confusing. Dune
It should
Part
have been
1,
Dune again.
2. Dune Part 1, 2.
It's Dune.
We got it's the other half we didn't give you. We got a trailer for Apollo 10.5, a space aged childhood.
Dick Linklater is back at it.
Dinky Link is back.
Rotoscoping.
This didn't do anything for me, dude. Like rotoscoping is just not my thing, and
It's
and
not mine
Linklater
either,
is very hit or miss for me. But I don't know.
I don't disagree with you on that, but I am always still up to see a Richard Linklater movie, even when he doesn't like. I think. Like, even though I didn't love Waking Life and A Scanner Darkly, I do think that there are elements in both of those movies that are interesting enough, and I get why he wanted to do this style of animation. And like even another movie that kind of does this as well, that's not a Richard Linklater movie, but it's a documentary called Tower. You know, like the rotoscoping stuff is such an acquired taste, and I think it maybe would work in like a segment in a movie like Waking Life more than as a full film.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where like it just
Scanner Darkly as well, is that
well, Scanner Darkly is the full movie.
Yeah.
And again, like I understand why he was going for that, because it being based on a Philip K. Dick story, it's like, okay, like there's this sci-fi element that like you can kind of play around with, and that was also the beginning of when Robert Downey Jr. was making his comeback, because it was Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Woody Harrelson, and Downey Jr. and Rory Cochrane.
Sorry for yawning. I remember someone called me out on that on something recently.
Sorry, bastard. Well, I mean, I still think the best is our review for The Power of the Dog.
5 minutes of bullshit.
We got to frame that. But I think that's the best stuff of our shows, is when we're just kind of casually.
People like that stuff. They joke about that with us. It's just funny because with certain reviews, if people didn't see this, I tweeted out a comment that I didn't even. It got flagged because the person was rude or whatever. So it's not actually. I might just approve it and let it post on the.
It's not offensive.
It's not. It's just like. But when our early reviews, you have to like approve a comment to go on. So I haven't approved it yet, but I saw it. Pop
it was
up.
all because of Dune 1.5.
And someone was just like, these fucking guys just talked for 5 minutes of bullshit before the actual movie. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we. Anyway,
well, it's because it's our personalities, right?
Whatever.
Like that's the stuff I love with podcasts that I listen to. I mean, I love listening to it for the content that I'm going.
I'm curious of what we talked about during, probably just TIFF, right? Like during TIFF.
Yeah, or probably food that I think we talked a lot about Egg McMuffins, because we were talking about like that being the sponsor of TIFF.
But the funniest thing is a lot of people just find our reviews by searching Power of the Dog review or whatever, right? So then they go, let's click on this one. These guys are talking about egg.
And it's like 5 minutes of Egg McMuffin talk.
But I agree with you. That's why I like the.
I mean, we talked about Grimace.
That's why I like the kind of funny guys. That's why you like, different
film junk
and different things. It's like, part of it is just friends shooting the shit. Yeah, they talk about
personalities.
movies.
Like I don't necessarily want to listen to like an overly structured and edited
NPR style kind of like.
I mean, there's a place.
Oh yeah, your Rogers reviews are that kind of thing, right? Yeah. Like there is a place for that. They are, if you want boring. No,
they are very.
If you want boring, dumb. No, I'm just kidding.
You're being kind. You're being very kind.
Anyways, what else do we get? The Bubble looks awful.
Yeah.
I have.
But going back to Apollo 1.5, I have a screener link for it. I'm sure you do as well.
Did it already come through?
Did you request
I
it?
did.
Yeah,
I
I
thought
got it
so.
on Thursday.
Oh, maybe I
because it played at South by Southwest. So I got a screener link for that. So we'll probably have a review.
I don't think it ever came through for me. What the hell? That's fine. I don't really care. I'll log into my Netflix and see if it's there. But
Okay, because I'm still excited to see it because I just like Richard Linklater in general. But I think he's at his best when he's doing kind of like
stop.
hangout movies that are live action, whether it be the Before films or Everybody Wants Some,
No, I
films
don't.
like
Mine
that.
hasn't come through, so I'll have to email. No worries.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Oh, inside baseball right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bubble, the new Judd Apatow movie, which
no COVID movies, people. Stop.
well, not just that, it just looks really
Oh
uninspired.
yeah, absolutely. But I just mean on top of that, it's framed with this uninspired is a
It's
great
basically
word,
it's basically Tropic Thunder, but in the era of COVID. Like that's kind of what it looks like to me. And even though it kind of there's some interesting cast members with David Duchovny and Maria Baklava or Baklava, is it
Baklava, I think.
Baklava, not the Greek dessert from the Bo Rat sequel. It just kind of feels almost like you're watching basically the movies within funny people that Adam Sandler's character made.
And I'm usually an
instead of a
Apatow
film.
apologist too. Like
King of Staten Island was okay.
yeah, but this just I don't know. I'm hoping expectations are low after that trailer that it ends up being maybe fun, but we'll see.
That's supposed to come out on April 1st, same day as our Lord and Savior Jared Leto's Morbius.
Yep. And then we got a Bullet Train trailer as well. Which looks ridiculous. But I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a fun summer release, and actually it just moved into Black Adam's old spot, so it'll be coming out at the end of July instead of the second to last week. Yeah, it's also just interesting as well, thinking that Brad Pitt did Sandra Bullock a favor by being in The Lost City, and then she did the same for him for Bullet Train. So, like just like I kind of like that kind of thing where it's like, like I've got this like bit role in a movie if you want to come and do it, because she actually replaced Lady Gaga, who was supposed to be in that role.
Got some
but yeah, I mean, like
come on.
Yeah, and I think like the cast is amazing, like in terms of like who they have, and I'm sure a lot of them will be really smaller roles, but overall, like it looks like it could be like a fun summer movie. I think probably at its worst, it'll be just kind of derivative, kind of knockoff stuff of like that kind of hyperbole, high octane action. But it is also going to be really hard to beat everything everywhere all the time. Or all at once, pardon me.
Yeah.
I keep doing that with that fucking
you've seen
title.
it, and I see it.
It's really good.
Tuesday.
It is really good, and
I'm excited to see it and we'll talk to you about it.
It's a lot of movie. Like that'll be fun talking about, because it's so hard to kind of like break down into like a couple of sentences and what it is.
Yeah, spoiler cast probably best for that, or what? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing necessarily that I would say that's like
spoilers, but
spoiler-ish. But just in terms of like what the movie is doing with its world building and its ambition, and the guys who made the Farting Corpse movie have delivered on this new plane of existence and what they're doing. But again, we'll talk about it more when you see the movie.
The cast for Bullet Train is incredible, though.
Yeah,
really. Like I love Michael Shannon's playing Jay Wang. It's the best. I love Michael Shannon. Bad Bunny's in this movie. Zazie Beetz. Logan Lerman. Come on. Sandra Bullock.
Fury reunion there with Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Great, man. Brian Tyree Henry.
Joker reunion with Zazie Beetz.
Yeah.
They were both in Joker.
Joey King. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Joey King was
Future Craven.
Joey King was in The Dark Knight Rises as a young who you thought was Bane, but wasn't Bane.
It's actually Talia al Ghul.
Al Goulding. Talia al Goulding. All right, that's it for trailers.
Daughter of Elliot Gould.
Oh my god, that Grover Elliot Gould photo still kills me. Like, do you know the one I'm talking about on TV Guide or whatever? Make it real sexy. And then news-wise, What have we got lately? We got some Marvel.
Well, I
Sony,
mentioned Kraven the Hunter.
Speaking of
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah.
We've got Christopher Abbott joining that.
Love it.
Film.
Cast is great for that movie.
It's shaping up to be a really good cast.
But then someone made a good point. I forget who it was who tweeted me that was like, Venom also had Venom and Venom 2 had pretty good.
That's true.
Casts.
That's true.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yep.
You are very right on
Fool
that.
me once.
But I'm like, I
you.
do
Fool
like
me
JC Shandor as a director more than
both Andy Serkis and Ruben Fleischer.
Yeah. So I have more
Hopefully
faith.
there'll be no scene in Kraven where it takes place in a Papa John's.
I hope not, but we shall see. But because like I liked, what was the Shandor movie we saw at Lightbox?
Triple Frontier.
With Oscar Underrated. Isaac. Kind of a fun movie. That,
well, I mean, it's JC Chandor's career has been really fascinating because he started as like, you know, this indie darling who broke out with Margin Call.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, okay, this guy's like the next big thing. And then he does All Is Lost with Robert Redford. And then he does a Most
also
Violent
pretty
Year
good
with Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
And then
Decent.
Triple Frontier was the movie that kind of like almost like a lot of people like turned on him.
Well, I liked it.
I think Triple Frontier is a fun movie, but I think the problem with Triple Frontier is that it was one of those movies that was like at one point going to be a Catherine Bigelow movie, and it was going to be like Christian Bale and Denzel Washington.
I'm not saying
and Tom
it's
Hanks
anything special, but it was just like a fun heist movie. Like to me, like I don't know, I had a really good time with that movie. The Atmos sound and the projection at Lightbox probably did elevate that movie a little bit because it was so loud. I just remember Metallica just being like, "Holy crap!" Yeah.
But of the Sonyverse people so far, I would see JC Chandor is truly the more interesting filmmaker. So if anybody is going to bring something to
with that cast too,
and Craven's a really good, like I always liked Craven on the 90s animated series, but the thing with Craven though is that is weird, like he's always been associated with Spider-Man. Like the whole point of him coming to New York is to hunt down Spider-Man when he becomes the were-spider.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't who Morbius, I don't.
And Morbius is another character, again, mostly associated with Spider-Man and Blade.
I have no idea how they're gonna do all that. What else? Chris Nolan and Jordan Peele are helping IMAX develop a new camera, which is dope, and I'm excited to see Nope.
Is it dope or is it Nope?
Yeah, in 65 millimeter IMAX. Like I can't wait. That should be fun. Other than that, like,
and everybody's been cast in Oppenheimer, so
we literally every white person ever. And I get it, it's, you know, for the time and what they're covering, of course it's going to be very white, but
Christopher Nolan's like Dunkirk was like, oh great, there's no women, and now with Oppenheimer it's like
great,
white people. It's white people.
It's just like the whitest movie of all time. If you're a big it's
I don't know where you're going.
Like a big actor who you're in that movie. It's just like it's just ridiculous. And I know people are kind of giving him shit for how many, you know, it's just you look at that cast and it's just like you blinded by it. But
you're blinded by the white.
Yeah, it's just like it makes sense. Like people are like, well, yeah, of course that movie is that because like what it's covering in the time period and like no, I'm not saying that. Anyways, you know what I mean.
And I mean, he did try to diversify with Tenet a little bit, but like at the same time, it was still like, okay, like, yeah, you had one really like great leading man in that role. But also weirdly, John David Washington was like kind of, I don't know, like he didn't have the same.
I gotta give that movie another watch.
I mean, I do as well, but like he just didn't have the same kind of charisma that he had in Black Klansman.
I totally agree with that. Absolutely. What else did we miss, everyone? Or should we just wrap this shit up?
Shut her down.
The Gotham PD TV series is getting morphed into a Arkham show, it looks like, and then the Penguin show officially was greenlit for the first season.
Which I was laughing when I was listening to the Film Junk review for the Batman. They were like, oh man, if it was called the Penguin Show, that would be amazing.
Trying to think what else. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't really been anything like big in terms of confirmation,
Christopher
like even
Lloyd
with
in
the,
season 3 of Mandalorian, pretty dope.
which is cool, but like in terms of even like the Dune casting, like with Florence
Yeah,
Pugh
it's kind of rumored
and
still,
Austin
right?
Butler, yeah, like it still hasn't been confirmed yet. So
Paul Dano's writing Riddler Year One. Good for him. A
yep.
comic book, not a movie or anything. Um, but yeah, I think that's good. Um, thank you all for watching or listening. We really, really do appreciate it. We'll be back later this week with a Oscars preview show where Eric and I kind of break down the Academy Awards and maybe give you guys some predictions from your number 1 and number 2 Oscar pundits.
The best in the
The
biz.
best in the biz. We're probably gonna get everyone right. So check
Except for the 8 that we're not going to mention.
yeah, so check back for that later this week. Please go check out our reviews for X and Deep Water, as well as everything else we have over on Untitled Movie Reviews.
Especially After Yang. If you can
Oh
see
yeah,
After Yang, it is one of the best movies of the year so far.
playing at
Well worth
Lightbox
your
here in
time.
Toronto. You guys can check out our
Yeah.
review.
And if you're in the US, it's on Showtime.
Yeah, so just watch it at home. I mean, it would be great in a theater, but
Yeah.
if you don't want to go out, Showtime.
Oh, we should also mention that before we wrap up, we did attend the virtual conference for Turning Red.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, like if you want to listen to our full thoughts on the film, which we do add some context from the virtual conference that we both kind of zoomed in or Skyped in on, it was fairly kind of like, the actors had never met before, so it was kind of fun seeing them kind of first interact with each other in person. And then you had Domi Shi talk about her inspirations and growing up in Toronto at that time, and stuff that is very much in the film. And if you haven't seen the movie yet and have Disney Plus, it's available right now. It's again
pretty good reception
really,
from
really,
everyone I've talked to who's watched it. There's some discourse, at first.
there always
There
is.
always is, but like it's.
I mean, there was one tweet specifically that was really ignorant,
Yeah.
but we won't go into details
But
about
it seems
that
like people are really
because-
loving it, and I love seeing Toronto on a big stage like that. I love what that movie showcases. You guys can check out our review for Turning Red, and we go into detail about that. But yeah, going to that virtual press conference was just it was nice. Again, everyone involved in that movie, it seems very personal to your point, Eric, that when we talked about that, you're like, this does feel like the most personal Pixar movie, that it, even though it is from a committee and it is from a big group of people, which every movie is, but
it's always a collaboration process.
but this is very much almost semi autobiographical from Domi Shi's her growing up in Toronto, and she talked about that, and getting the whole cast, that a lot of them being Canadian, talking about their favorite things about Toronto or their favorite Easter eggs in the movies, so that ones that we spotted and ones that we didn't even notice. I thought was just like a really cool insight that I'm sure they'll talk even more about leading into as
Well,
the
there is
movie
a
goes
making of on
which I
Disney
really
Plus
want to
as well.
watch. I actually
Yeah.
haven't yet, which I've heard is excellent, and I knew that they would probably elaborate on a lot of the stuff we talked or listened to in that press conference. But yeah, it's something that we don't do a lot of anymore, but it is nice to have a good moderator listen to some good questions and get some insight on a film. And I do think that it was super insightful, and just being very personal even for us, living in Toronto,
Being the time
and
period as well,
the
when
time
we grew
period.
up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because even when they talk about boy bands during the press conference and stuff like that was a lot of
Before
fun.
4, baby.
I wanted to bring up before 4, but and it's before 4, but
and there's only 3.
it's great. And I really wish I asked that question to Domi Shi, because I feel like whether whoever's idea it was to include this boy band, I feel like Before 4 had to be a thought there, because them being from Toronto and
and
again,
Four Town being
Yeah.
5 members, but
Yeah.
only being called
Yeah.
Four Town.
Yeah.
And then but even her Domi Shi talking about Sailor Moon and anime being
Yes,
an
that was a
influence
huge
is-
thing, and Dragon Ball Z and all this stuff. It's just, you can see a lot of that in in the movie, and even before her talking and then her confirming that that's what she grew up with and loved was really, really cool. Yeah, everyone go watch Turning Red. What a lovely movie that I wish I had a chance. I hope I can watch it in a theater at some point, because I feel like that would be wonderful. Yeah, great. We'll see next Oscars for Turning
Hopefully.
Red, probably.
I think best song and best animated feature for sure.
I would agree. One-stop shop for all of our stuff. Head over to Letterboxd, Untitled_movies. You can find all of our video reviews. You can find all of our podcasts, all of our ratings, all of our lists. Maybe we'll put up our Pixar rankings, or maybe we'll put up we got to do more transferring some of our lists, because I know Eric and I do that on our own pages a lot.
Just follow those, you dingus.
As always, my name is Matt Rohrbeck. You can find more of my work around the internet, but mostly on UntitledMoviePodcast.com, and you can follow me on all those social medias at Matt Rohrbeck.
And I'm Eric Marchin. You can find more of my boring video reviews on rogerstv.com/cinemascene.
Just the worst garbage. Like, who wants to listen to a 3-minute review when you can listen to an hour,
Yeah, you can't spell generic without Eric.
That's good. That's really good.
And you can follow me on the social medias at EM6211.
Until the next time.
Grimace is back, and he's purpler than ever.
Yeah.